then maybe after we get done, you can put you can leave on that side. I mean, yeah. So Rose first, please. Rose and Elvira second, and then Eileen, you'll be over here for this last one.
All right.
Okay. Destiny, you'll be where are you? Oh, okay. You'll be this third one right here.
Okay.
We're so honored to be able to host this evening. It's a beautiful function tonight with beautiful people. In our planning committee, we're talking about what could we do as an agency to continue to share culture to our community, to not only educate ourselves, to also continue sharing stories while we're still here. You know, valuable, very valuable to be able to kind of share those stories. You know. And so my name is Nino Reyes. I'm a member of the Northern Ute and Laguna Pueblo Indian tribes, born amongst the Ute people in northeastern Utah, raised amongst the Ute people, spent my majority of my adolescent life amongst the Ute people, and we went to Native American boarding school and went to the military. After the military, I came here to Salt Lake City and went to college here, and just been involved in various Native community activities. As a veteran and part of the Veterans Organization years ago, and the powwow as well, different cultural activities. And I currently work for Sacred Circle as not only a therapist, but also, a cultural specialist, where myself and another co-worker will be joining us here in a few minutes, that he and I, along with a team of people who come together to be able to kind of share and organize various cultural activities. So if we can ask the elders, if you don't mind, please. All the presenters, if you don't mind, come on up here. Rose to the left. Elvira second, if you don't mind, please. Eileen, you'll be the fourth one. Yeah, Destiny. I know Destiny. How fortunate, I kind of mentioned it already, how fortunate are we tonight to be able to come together here with all these beautiful knowledge keepers today. We're going to share their story. And we even know that there's other people in the audience who also have their story as well. We all have our stories. Many different tribes throughout North America, Canada. They say 574 Native American tribes that's federally recognized. Some will be similar in different ways. We know that there's different, even there might be bordering tribes, but yet maybe totally different. And tonight, we're going to be able to share some stories about some of the traditional parenting regarding Cradleboards, and then how these knowledge keepers here will be sharing their story about that. And so we're very, very fortunate about that. And so for those who may need to go to the restroom, it's just right down the hall out this door to the left. They have a code. So if you don't remember the code that I'm sharing with you right here, it's 41596. It's right up here on the wall as well. So, so
on live stream, so
you
everybody
can go,
will show up.
walk out and go the number right there, and then just push in the code and stuff like that. So we have the food. We want to try to stay as close on task, to nourish your bodies. We have a long day, And so nourish your bodies, go get some refreshments, and we'll go ahead and start. We're gonna go invite my coworker to come on up and share a little bit about some information about what they call safe sleep. And it's gonna be pretty nice about sharing the information about this. So we're gonna ask Leah Hoshtain to come on up.
Hi, welcome speakers. Thank you for coming here. I'm so excited for our elders to be here today. And this is a great opportunity where traditional teaching kind of intersect with some of the clinical sleep safe practices. And so we just want to encourage everybody to practice safe sleep practices. Does anybody know any practices maybe that they've heard of? And the sleep safe practices for like infants, just preventing sudden infant death syndrome. So that's okay. So I'm glad you guys are here. To prevent SIDS, we would always want the baby to be on their back. And we want them to lay flat on a hard surface. So when you think about a cradle board, think about the backing of the cradle board and how that's firm. And then another great thing about the cradle board is that it has straps, and the presenters will show you there's different styles from different tribes that we're going to learn about tonight. And the straps prevent baby from rolling around. And then they stay firm on the back with their back straight facing up with their airway unobstructed. And we also want to reiterate that sleep safe practices is smoke-free environment. So we also would like to encourage traditional use of tobacco, and instead of villainizing all of tobacco usage, but kind of understanding that in our ceremonies that we do use tobacco in our ceremonies, and that's okay for us. But just to have a smoke-free environment for a baby, so that way they get all of the oxygen that they need for their brain, their lungs, and their health, and their cells. So another one is, another tip would be to share a room with the baby for at least the first 6 months. And I think in our native practices, I feel like that's part of the cradle board usage is to, it's easy. It's very mobile. Like you can carry it on your back, some of them, and they'll probably demonstrate the different styles and how to do that. So always be with mom or the caregiver for the first 6 months. And then I know there's one kind of, some people, they don't want to leave their baby on the cradle board too long because let's see, the right terminology would be like the SIFA, where the head goes flat. So you just have to like rotate baby's head from the cradle board, take it out, or I know some of the cradle boards kind of have like a dip in it to kind of allow some of that like formation to grow on the baby's skull because it's just so pliable in the early ages. And then, yeah, that's about all of my information. I wanted to talk about safe sleep is airways obstructed, flat on your back, smoke-free environment, and to always keep on checking with the baby to prevent sudden infant death syndrome. And we were so grateful for this opportunity that we got to be able to have this grant where we're able to have these elders come and talk about the traditional ways of cradle board usage. And I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself in my native language. I always forget because I'm just so assuming. But my name is Leah, and I am the grant manager. I'm here at Sacred Circle, and I am enrolled in the Navajo Nation tribe. My clan is Edgewater, born for mini goats. My paternal clan is One Who Walks Around You, and then my maternal clan is Red Streak Resident to the Water Clan, and that's how I introduce myself as a Navajo woman to you guys. And I'm just excited to be able to be here today and work with Deshaun, Nino, and Cesario is going to be joining us soon. But also wanted to tell you guys about this survey. At the end of this storytelling night, we'll collect the survey. So if you complete the survey, there's a pre-survey part and then a post-survey part. And then we'll give you a ticket for filling out that survey, and we'll do a $50 raffle for doing the survey, $50 e-second card. All right, well, thank you. I'll give the time over to Deshaun if you want to introduce yourself.
Good evening, everybody. This way. Okay. My name is Deshaun Underguys. I am an enrolled member of the Go Shoot tribe, and I am just very thankful and grateful that you guys are all here and choosing to spend an evening with us with these lovely ladies here. It's so important that we continue our traditions, keep them going as much as we can to learn from the elders while they're here. Also, I wanted to talk a little bit about the grant. There were 30 tribes and organizations that applied for this grant. There were only 8 spaces available, and we were lucky enough to get one of those spaces. So I'm really grateful because I feel very passionate about this. I myself was in a board, and my grandchildren and my children continue that tradition. So I'm just hoping that we can start this for some of the individuals out there that want to do this. So I'm just grateful that you're all here, and thank you for coming.
As we move forward, we're going to introduce our first speaker. Her name is Luella Rose Ayu, a member of the White River band from the White Rocks, Utah. She is a member of the Northern New Indian tribe, and she started making cradleboards at the age of 14. She was taught by the elders of the White Rocks community. Please welcome Rose Ayu. Luella Rose Ayu. Yeah, however you want to do it.
Can we have all the other presenters come? And then we'll have her introduce stuff.
Yeah, you can go ahead and get your food now. Yeah, so this is all yours right there for 3 hours. Yeah, good time with us.
I'll start from when I was a baby.
Yeah. It's all yours.
Cradleboard. Cradleboard. Yeah, I started making cradleboards when I was 14 years old. I'm 72 years old now. I'm still making cradleboards. And what I do is I teach cradleboard making to our tribal members that want to learn how to make the cradleboard. And at first, when I first came back home, cradleboards were kind of like obsolete. They weren't there anymore. So I thought to myself, well, let's get this class going to make cradleboards, so it'll come back. And the first session we had like maybe 8, 9 people in class. So the second session, because people wanted to learn how to make the cradleboard, we had maybe 20. And then during the Shoshone reunion, we had 30 people come in and wanted to make the cradleboard. And it grew. Last year, we had this you went to Ute days, it's Indian days in our in our tribe, and we had 60 people in that class making cradleboard, and it grew and it's growing. And the reason why I wanted to teach the cradleboard is because I didn't want it to die off. You know, I wanted it to live on into the future. And do I need my paper for my PowerPoint? Okay. And this is one of the cradleboards. Yeah. And this is one of the styles that my grandmother had done with the scarf. They had big long scarves and they carried the baby on their back while they were working, cooking, or just to keep busy and tend to the baby at the same time. Sometimes they use the strap to put the baby on their back. My grandmother used to have these scarves, and she would just whip it and wrap it and put it around it, and then she'd carry it. And the Northern Ute Indian tribe is a tribe cradleboard. This is how our cradleboards are made. And our cradleboards usually have the fan shape in the back. But I didn't bring one of those fan shaped ones. But they're really hard to make. And the bottom of the cradleboard, they're kind of like where they have a piece that comes up, where the foot comes up more, and then it comes over, and then it right in the chest part, it comes up to where it snugs the baby. And those styles are gone. There's new styles coming. The younger generation, they're making more advanced cradleboards. Now they're putting applique work, bling on them. And, this is my presentation. The Northern Ute Indian tribe cradleboard was and still is used today. It protects the child from the heat, rain, wind, and other harmful debris surrounding the child. And the cradleboard is made by the family member. The cradleboard is made with, is made with these materials. They're made out of buckskin, and they're made out of canvas, which these ones are, and this one here is buckskin, imitation buckskin. And they're made out of cotton fabric. You can put applique work on it. And they're made out of talon material, and they're called the moss bags. You guys seen those moss bags? Well, that's what they're made out of, is talon material. And the cradleboard can be used with, they can put applique designs on them too, and sew it on there. So it's made many different ways now than the traditional style of making the traditional cradleboard. And the cradleboard can be beaded and decorated with buckskin and leather fringes. And like this one has leather fringes on it. That's the beauty of the cradleboard. And making a cradleboard. The cradleboard is handmade, or it could be made on the sewing machine. This one here is handmade, and these cradleboards are made on sewing machines. And cradleboard is made from plywood and willows. You can make them out of plywood, or you can make them out of the willow. And the front of the cradleboard is laced with leather ties for strapping the child in a cradleboard. for safety and comfort. The Cradleboard takes up to a week to make if make the Cradleboard. It's the time's limited. And the Cradleboard shade, that's the shade of the baby. The Cradleboard shade is made with willows. And the willows are gathered and sewn together by yarn and is shaped round like a helmet. This keeps the baby safe. And you know there's winds that come around. Lately there's been a lot of wind. Yeah, and the other tribal cradle, the other Native American tribes and their cradleboards. All the other tribes have their own styles and ways of making their cradleboards. There is no right or wrong the cradleboard. To learn how to make the cradleboard and bring it into the future so the cradleboard will still be here for our future generation. And if anybody would like to ask a question about cradleboards, or they've been here for supplies they had back then. And made a cradleboard. It's going to be featured in Utah Natural History Museum. And she done a good job on that cradleboard. She's one of the students that wanted to learn. You know, and I commend her for, you know, being there to make that cradleboard and being interested in making a cradleboard. So that goes to show it's going to go on into the future. And it's sit and just say that, hey, this is us. And not only women, men can make them too.
I have a question. Do you make your cradle boards different for males and female? Is there a difference? Like if there's a baby boy compared to a baby girl?
I really can't really say, because some of the male boys, they have designs, and the girl babies have roses. And the coloring, it depends on their families, what colors they want on it, or what designs they want on it. It's what the pink for girls, choose what they want to put on it, which is good, because that cradleboard is still here.
With a reunion on the next one, are you guys going to have a class? Because that would be really awesome. I'm really looking forward to going to the reunion again. But that would be awesome to learn that. You guys could teach.
See, and with the cradleboard they made back then, they made them a certain way, the pieces, you know, like. But with the newer version, it's just one big. Where'd it go? This one? Is it this one? It's just one big, like a big pocket here. It's a big pocket. And then inside, where's that one that had that canvas? Okay, that one's the canvas. Okay, inside, you can open it up, is made with canvas material you put on the inside so the board won't show. And it's kind of like the more modern way of making the cradleboard. And this is just one piece that goes all the way around. It's just like a little body thing here. And then you put the canvas inside so it doesn't show. So it's just kind of like modernized from the old style. But it's still a cradleboard. Yeah. So maybe in the future it'll be more bling. I don't know, but as long as it goes into the future, that it'll be good. So there's different ways of making them, different styles. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Thank you. Take it.
No, wait, that's Jessica.
Yeah, just put them on there.
How important it is, we already kind of talked about that. Sharing stories, different events, our wisdom keepers. They say that I've been told over time that if we don't document it somehow, if we don't share stories like this, at some point they may go before us. And then all that knowledge is gone. So it's really important to have things like this, you know, and we're very honored to be able to have, you know, the grant that we kind of was able to apply for. We're actually have some other, more of a private event this weekend for like young moms or the pregnant moms, a special invite where they're going to actually be given, you know, and the idea is that sometimes we may not be exposed to some of this knowledge and how many we're going to go and try right into a second one. I'd like to introduce Elvira Murphy. She is a member of the Confederate Tribes / Nevada. She is an elder and a craft teacher. Her father was Goshu, and her mother was from the West half with these that would like to learn and teach along with her sisters, son, and daughter. And she was fortunate to study and learn to willow weave from her children's grandmother, Lily Pete. Another mentor was Molly McCurdy and friend Roger Ike. She is an expert in willow weaving, and she continues to practice the craft of cradleboard making. Big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Elvira Murphy.
Thank you. Good evening. So we are with the Confederate Tribes of the Goshoot Reservation. I am Goshoot, Western Shoshone on my mother's side, and both tribes practice the willow weaving, which we continue today. This is one of my friend Helen's cradleboards. She's had her daughter in it, her granddaughters, and our boards are very, very light. So we carry them on the back. Willow boards have been around forever. I think it's longer than recorded history because we use the resources in our area to create something to carry our babies in, to protect them. It's a form of neutering. And the shades, these are different shades. These are done by students that we've been teaching, and my sister helps me. We've been teaching, so these are different students' shades that they've done. They're all made out of willow. So when we start with the willows, the beginning is we'll go pick the willows, and if we don't use it that season, we'll wrap them tight to make sure that people like to weave with the bark on it. We prefer to scrape ours and leave the bark off because I think it's pretty. So and this is a willow. Helen brought some willows. These are live willows. And so when you strip the bark off, this one's kind of drying off, but you'll take a knife and you'll just scrape it off. And so when you pick your willows, they're seasonal. You'll look for them like in the fall and the spring because you want to make sure that your willows are straight without any knots on it so they won't crack when you're weaving with them. So somebody had asked a question earlier about if we have boy and girl designs. So traditionally, the diagonal lines what represented a boy. I don't think we have one.
There's one over there.
Oh, over there. Hold on, be back. So traditionally, this is a boy shade, and the diamonds are the girls. And so that's how you identify. And again, the willows are made for protection. When my oldest son was a baby, he slid, and his shade covered him, kept him from banging his head. So the shades will cover their heads from the weather, the sun, and basically protecting them. The boards will grow. This is a doll. This is the anatomy of a doll board. This one is, we have two styles. We have this one is a 2-stick. Shoshones on the western side are 1-stick. So they vary in styles. And so, but the boards are, they're for protection. They keep our babies. So Western society has taught nowadays, you go to the hospital, they're swaddling your baby now. It's a practice that as natives we've been doing for centuries. So they're just barely catching up to how we take care of our babies. So, which is kind of funny. That is, trying to think. Some of my mentors, I learned to do my first shade when I was pregnant with my first son. My son's grandmother taught me. She didn't want to teach me. And I begged her, and she finally told me, I don't understand why, as a young person, you want to go backwards when all you young people want to go forward. And I didn't have the words for her of why I wanted to learn. I just knew that for me, it was important for my son to be carried in a cradleboard. And so she taught me how to do my first board. And then my second mentor, her name was Molly McCurdy. And I didn't know she was very well known for her willow weaving. And I had the opportunity to work with her. And her style was a little bit different. Her teaching methods were a little bit different. With her, she taught me more than just the board. She taught me stories. She taught me language, her history, which I thought was really important as we sat under the tree. Her has been a friend of mine. He's from Western Shoshone, from Elko. He teaches willow board making. And so we had the opportunity to work with him. My youngest sister, who's gone now, but that was her passion. She loved going out, picking willows and making cradle boards and shades. That was weaving. So it's a tradition that I think is important, that we should continue to be whole in themselves and not, be scared of the world, because they're growing as they're prone at a young age, that our children take those things in. They're secure in their world. So, and I think the development of kids, you see the difference between children that are being neutered in a board versus children that are in a carrier. So you see that more. I smile when I see young women in the store like Walmart, their babies are propped up in a.
How long does it take that?
Well, depending. So from going out and picking, that's the worst part. People do not like to ground pick the willows. So you go out and, like I said, if you do a board, if you're diligent and you do it, you could probably get one done in about a week. But like these willows, you go out and you pick out certain size of willows, because if you see these ones, you have the smaller ones, which you're going to use more of the top part because they're small. So it's just depending on what you're going to nail done differently, depending on how fine you want your work to be. This was a doll cradle board, so this one's really tiny. It's probably the top of one of these, if you see that. So, and then the bigger sticks are for this is a doll cradle board, so you're going to pick bigger sticks for the backing. And our boards are very flexible, so you're not going to, the baby's head's not going to conform to a flat head. They'll have, and so and then you've got the larger sticks. So you've got the wider ones, which is something like this right here. Those are what you're going to use for your framing. So that's, and like I said, it takes, if you're diligent, you could probably do one in about a week. This you could probably do in about a week. This will probably take you a little bit longer because you have the weaving that has to go into this. And some of these are done with, we split the willows to make thread is what you're using to weave with this. So you have the splitting of the willow. That is a craft in itself. That is a lot harder to learn than all of these. The splitting of the willow is probably the hardest part of the craft. So, and that's not only in cradleboard making, but it's also in basket making, the same thing. That's probably the hardest part to learn about working with.
Shape the willow board. How you shape it to make it taller or wider on top?
So the shaping, everybody's got a method. So you have the traditional, because willow is very pliable when it's still fresh. So traditionally they did it over open flame where they bent it and let the heat. And so you would go back and forth, not to burn it, but enough to get it warm so you could bend it so it's pliable. People nowadays will have a plyboard. They'll put nails in it, so then they'll put the branch in there, the willow in there to shape it into a round shape. Or you could take this when it's still pliable, tie it up, and it'll dry that way. So it'll dry. So those are 3 different ways. My sister did a 4th way. We were barbecuing. I have a smoker and it's round top. And she was like, hey, you know what? That kind of looks, some of the methods. We taught a basket making class last spring. My goal is to eventually teach. I'm not an expert at this. We lost recently a lot of our basket makers, our willow weavers.
Thank you very much. Such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful job.
Okay.
All different types of
Brought
crafts.
some samples of this buckskin.
Oh, you did?
You wanna?
We could have one that's just all.
Oh, now we're done.
Oh, you're done.
Yeah, we're done now.
Yeah, because that's what that because you have
different
the
things. Food.
the buckskin.
It's not too late. Some of you like crazy are already aware that we're going live. And we're starting to do that.
I have my.
And so because there's some people we know have other commitments and responsibilities and things like that. So then the idea is to be able to share that with other people. So if you have a phone right now, ages 25, 22, and 20. She recently retired after 32 and a half years at the Shoshone-Bannock Casino Hotel in various positions. Destiny has recently started her own small business called WYND Events and Designs. She uses her experience in event planning and marketing to help those who need help planning events, tanning hides, and cradle boards from various types of wood and hand-scraped willows. Destiny learned from her grandmother and others how to make her boards for her own sons. As she learned, she eventually shared her knowledge with others and began learning the willow-style boards by attending her tribe's local cultural activities hosted by the Language and Culture Department. Destiny would like to emphasize the importance of cradleboard use in Native American culture, as many tribes have their own styles of boards and beliefs about their use. As a mother, placing your baby on a cradleboard makes them feel safe and secure, behaved, able to sit still and quiet. They fall asleep more easily once wrapped and want to be on a board at nap time. It is an important part of raising your children. Destiny, well, evening.
Oh, I got my mic. Good evening. As he introduced, my name's Destiny Evening. I am a member of the Shoshone-Bannock tribes, and I was asked by Deshawn if I could share my knowledge about willow boards, or cradle boards in general. But the reason I learned about boards is when I had my own sons, my grandmother told me how important it is to put the babies in the board and when to put them in. So my first son, he got the ply board. She's like, hey, she goes, I still have your board from when you were a baby. So I still have my board. This isn't it, but it's about this size, and I'm going to be 54 this year. So my board's 54 years old, and all of my sons have been in it. But I also know that growing up, my grandmother had me go and take the board when you're done with it in the family. You know, a lot of people like to save their boards, and the ply boards, they don't make them like they used to. They're really thin, they're flimsy, heavy if you go with a thicker board. And I've just learned over time that, you know, I put holes in it because that's how my grandmother showed me. And she didn't do it for me. She told me what to buy, how much material, and she told me how to do it. So that's how I learned. And I learned various ways over the years. So a ply board is what I started with. My mom's here with me. She said I had several different boards. So every size, types of styles. So this style come to me and say, how do you put your cover together? Can you make me a cover? Can you help me with a board? And this is how my grandmother taught me this style, to do the pleats, and it's hand sewn in the back. And then using the sewing machine to do the outer. I was using bias tape, but I started using the material and reusing it. So I try to use every piece of material that I have and make good use of it. The buckskin, I've used buckskin. I've used, some people will do the bias tape because they can't find the buckskin or they can't afford it. Or I've even done parababy with. So there's just various different things, like the other presenters have mentioned, is everybody has a different style, but this is what I've learned. This past year, I really got into willow making. My grandmother had taken me out and showed me how to gather my willows. I know I started the process. I felt really bad because I never finished what she was showing me. And then last year, for some reason, the willows were calling me. I kept seeing willows everywhere, and I kept saying, oh, look at all those willows. Like, they look really nice. And they bring up in our classes that we did at the Language and Culture department is that willows are very resilient. They're the only self-regenerating plant out there, and they have so many different medicinal purposes. The bark can be used as medicine. It can be, I save my scrapings and I use it for my fire, to start the fire. If you're sore, your body's sore, you can put it in your water properties. So there's so many uses for the willows. And this one here was my first board that I made. And I know the ladies were saying, yeah, it takes about a week or so. I did my board in a night. Later on, I learned, my grandmother showed me how to use the material. Instead of, you can use bias tape, you can do linen, or this way. And she does a lot of teaching with willows. And I've been trying to learn the shades. I didn't bring mine because I was like, they're not finished. But one thing I learned in the shades is it takes a lot of patience. We do modern things. We have our duct tape. And to get started and get that shape we want, we've been using a wire just to help stabilize it. And it keeps the center willows nice and straight because, you know, they're really flimsy. But once you get them all tied together, they're really sturdy and they're light. So after, you know, our presentation, you can come look at the boards. But I've always liked the boards. One year I did 30 boards, and that's kind of where I was doing it for free. My friends would come to me and I'd help them. And I know one year I did 30 boards. I counted, and I take pictures of my boards. And then I started my business, and then I started doing little doll boards. And a lot of the young kids, the programs that they start, some of the Head Start programs, they suggest getting your child or having the little cradle boards because it helps the kids learn how to use their hands and, you know, they learn how to tie their babies up. So you want to start your kids young so that they know what they're about, and explain to them why you do it. And I know in my family that we did just a single willow, like a finger thickness, and just shape it in a bow and tie it, and then you cover your baby with instead of doing the shade, it's just one bow, and then you just flip it open. One thing that I found for me as a mother, I breastfed all my kids, and with my shade and everything, it made it really easy to hold my baby, and nobody really knew I was feeding my baby. Like, because your baby's right here. And then just carrying them in it was a lot easier. I would carry my babies around on my back. I would take a belt and just loop it through the back. So I don't think I put one on this one, but, oh, this little one. So I always put little ties, and I would just slip my belt or my scarf through and then put them on my back and then tie them at the bottom around my waist. And they would just be there. And again, you know, making sure their head supported well. So it's just a lot of really checking on your baby, making sure they're okay, they're sleeping. I did cloth diapers with all my kids. I know a lot of people do the disposable diapers, but I was told that the cloth diapers keep their legs straighter and you can reuse them. And so that's how I did my cradle boards with my sons. And just my experience is that they've been well behaved. My grandma used to call the carrier a bucket. You don't want to carry your kids in a bucket. And I just find, and just observing over the years, that a lot of kids that are not in a board, they flail about a lot. They're naughty, they run around, but kids that are in boards tend to be a lot more well behaved. And little Andy down here, she's supposed to be my model. She's one of my cradle board babies, and I made her 5 boards during her time when she was little, because that's the only way she could sleep. And it really helped her. And oh yeah, she's a addiction baby. And so for her, being born with the substance in her system, it was really hard for her to settle down, and that's the only way she could get her to sleep was in a cradle board. And so she's always like, that's the magic board. Oh, I need another one, because she would outgrow it. And I just started different sizes, and I just got into brain tanning hides to go along with my boards, because it's hard to get this material. And I just really feel like it's important that as a parent, you need to share your knowledge with your kids. I don't have girls, but I have sons, and one of my sons, when he went to the recreation department, he actually made a board in their summer program. So I still have his little board that he made me. And I just think it's very important it helps the kids, and the shades prevent from when they fall. If they fall, my husband used to call it a roll bar, drop their baby. Tie them to something. And my mom here said her mother was still in a board as a toddler. She was walking and talking and would drag her board. And I've heard other family members say the same thing. Oh, we couldn't get them to sleep, and we used to tie them to the ironing board. You know, they want to be in that board. It's comforting to them. And it just makes it so much easier to put them down. But that's kind of just what I wanted to share. And I'm always willing to help share my knowledge. And I'm always learning. I'm still learning. I don't feel like I'm too much of an elder, but I'm a young elder, I guess you could say. But I'm still learning too. And I just really enjoy going out and gathering. And like the lady said, there are certain times of the year to gather your willows. And willows are free. I mean, you could get them anywhere as long as you know where to go gather. And the fall and spring is the best time to get them, because if you get them other times, you'll get the little islets where the leaves are coming out. I mean, you could still gather them anytime, but they come out smoother and they're a lot easier to work with when they're in the fall or in the early spring, because they're getting ready to grow. And I've been trying to grow some extra willows, so I try to save them all the time. Any excess willows I'll put in water, because they start growing roots, so you could regrow them. So that's why I really like Willows, because they've really helped me over this past few years to just keep me busy, and I enjoy going to classes and socializing. For me, it's about socializing and teaching others and also learning for myself. So that's what I've learned with working with boards and Willows. So that's what I wanted to share with you.
I know when I had somebody from the tribe made me a cradle board, like the name would be on the bottom, the gripper. Lift up that board.
This one?
Yeah, buckskin would be on there because when you got your board, it slipped.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like when you got it.
Yeah.
So they had, and that was from your tribe.
Somebody did, yeah.
Yeah, with the gripper on the bottom. You know,
And I've seen others use an old cowboy boot, and they cut it and they use it to slip over the bottom. I've been told that some of the styles, I think this style, this one is different for me. I'm still learning, but it's sewn. I use the machine at the top and sew it at the top, and then hand sew the bottom. That's kind of a little difficult for me because then I don't get my pleats like I like in the back. So, but it's hand sewn at the bottom. And one of the lady that was Marietta was teaching that a lot of people would put a piece of board, a flat board, so your baby can stand on it. So, you know, it's just everybody's preference of how they want to do it, and it's always changing, like the other ladies had said. And you know, technology ones are all Willows. All these boards are my Willow boards, and so I make them for family and friends, and I teach others if they want to learn. So that's what I have for you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. What a pleasure, a blessing, but I keep saying that, you know, about how fortunate we are to have this night tonight. Here comes the other we had much earlier, so for those who offer that, you know, want to do that part of it. So we'll probably line it up to the end. Excellent information. Continue on with our next presenter. Her name is Eileen Quintana. I was born in Bluff, Utah, and raised in Denahozo, Arizona, on Navajo land. I grew up surrounded by the language, traditions, and teachings of my people. From an early age, I understood that culture is not just something you inherit, it's something you carry forward. I am a boarding school and LDS placement program survivor. My path led me to Utah County. While raising my 5 children, I found my calling in Indian education. For the past 29 years, I have served as a Title VI Indian Education Program Manager for Nebo School District, a role that has allowed me to be a bridge builder for Indigenous students, preserve cultural teachings, and create spaces where Native youth feel seen, valued, and can connect. I sit on the board of directors for Adopt a Native Elder Program and Project Archaeology. My greatest gift is being a mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and wife to my husband, Richard Quintana. Please welcome Eileen Quintana.
Ja, توخن النشلة تخباها بششين بتأني دشتشيدو كيا أني دشنالة أكوت أسانشلة ديندنا أسانشلة. These were teachings that my mom told me. You're not just an ordinary person. Your people, when they first described the Allah Ashlai, he goes, Allah Ashlai, you're not just ordinary people. You're very, very special. In fact, that's why in Navajo, the teaching goes that we are a holy and a sacred being. How does a holy, sacred being think? How does a holy, sacred being talk? How does a holy, sacred being conduct themselves when out in the world, and what works come out of somebody who is holy and sacred. Those are teachings that my family taught me, and I'm very, very grateful. My oldest son, and I'm very, very proud that he had a chance to be able to hear his Masana's teachings, because they are beautiful teachings that we have. You know, all of us comes to this world and with a purpose. My mom used to always say, what is your gift? What is your contribution to your relatives? And my contribution, I believe, is being able to share information. I come from the Nearwater people. Many of the Nearwater people are medicine men and medicine women and herbs people. I think that's why I love and have a passion for spiritual things. My father is from the Edgewater people. They make great leaders. My maternal grandfather comes from the Folded Arms clan. My paternal grandfather comes from the Towering House clan. These are very powerful clans, and each one brings a special gift to our people. And one of the gifts is being able to teach exactly what being human means. What does it mean to come to this earth? Why are we here? When a woman is with child, her husband, right before she gives birth, her husband goes out and searches for a tree that is tall and straight and strong, a tree that's never been struck by lightning. And he makes his offerings with corn pollen and asks the tree for a part of it, its branch, its limbs, to be able to build a cradle board. This cradle board has, each part of this cradle board represents something. In the old stories, this is what I love teaching my students, is instead of thinking about this world in the way men and women came to be in this world, a lot of the Christian ideas and everything, we have our own stories. We carry these stories and everything. And so I want to be able to share some of those teachings. The first cradle board was actually a part of the creation story. A story was told about the people before there were humans, when there were just spirit beings. There was a sound that was heard on the mountain. And the people didn't know what the sound was. It was the sound of a baby crying. When they went up to finally go take a look, they found that it was a little baby. As they climbed up the mountain, the mist came in and the white clouds, and the sprinkling of water came down. But the light was still shining, and over her head was a rainbow. There were white clouds in there. There were all the things that we use that symbolize the cradle raised her. That's her story of how she came to be. But I wanted to share with you that the cradle board comes from that story. So what you're going to see is this right here. Right here is the rainbow. Natzilid, right here. Now this side is Father Sky. That's where that story came from. It has a meaning in that even the Sa'anare is down on the bottom, Ehojun is up on top. Those are gifts and teachings, and that are put into the top, they represent a jaw, ears, ear holes, so that when you lay your baby can hear your voice and can understand and listen to your voice and be able to be soothed by your voice. All of the things represented are shown right here. When a baby boy is born, usually we put turquoise on this side, this side right here. If a baby girl is born, we put white bead on this side. Also, in many of the ones, 3, 4, they represent the 4 sacred mountains, or they can represent the 4 stages in life. When we go through life as a human, the last one would represent going back into the ground. So everything is symbolized in the Navajo cradle board. The laces and the. When I bring my husband, when we had our first child, my husband went up to Payson Canyon, and he picked out a tree and brought it back, and he brought it back and prepared it for the baby. We lost that baby. She passed away, and she wasn't able to make her first cry. So since we had made the cradle board already, we had to take it back apart and put it away and take it back up to Payson Canyon and place it back up into the tree that it came from. So each board is very unique to the family and to the person that sleeps in it and everything. When you ask somebody to make a cradle board, you want to choose somebody who is in good standing, who is responsible, who has teachings to give and is generous with their teachings. The same way as when a woman comes of age, the person that molds her when she's going through her kinalta is usually chosen to be a woman that has a lot of knowledge and responsibility and is very good and generous with their teachings. The same thing we do with how to put a cradle board, how to make a cradle board. And so we brought them together and told them the story, everything that we could think of to be able to do this. We gathered that whole Saturday that we all need to do more often. Today, sometimes we're so busy in trying to keep up our schedules that sometimes we don't with them. Now, in the old days, I like to teach my students the old way and then also the new contemporary way. A long time ago, the cliff rose comes into, almost feels very soft and satiny. That was put, and in the old days, before white man came, they used to make diapers out of rabbit skin. It would be cut in an hourglass shape, and then that's what was tied onto the baby. It would be stuffed with cliff rose padding. And we also used the same thing on a cradle board back in the old days. And wouldn't you know, we are so brilliant as tribal people because we are eons ahead of the society we live in. Did you know that you can take that cliff rose and you can pull it out when baby pees on it? You can take it out. You can actually go and you can wash it, get it all clean. You can lay it in the sun and let it dry. The same thing with when they use number 2. You can do the same thing and it can be reused. All gifts from Nahasashama, Mother Earth and Father Sky. And when you use these natural elements, guess what else I found out just recently when I was reading, is that cliff rose and some of the natural things that our tribal people used for padding, for diapers and everything, like moss, like cattail padding, like cliff rose, like juniper bark and all of that, guess what it has in it? A natural antiseptic quality, so that healing properties that it holds within its makeup. So I love sharing that with the kids. When in the contemporary world, when we build our cradle boards, I usually will go to the store and I'll buy the little padding, and I put a padding all the way up from the foot to about here, that comes up like this, and then tie the lacings onto that and lace it that way. Or you can use natural all the way from here, like this one. So depending on what your preference is, you know, that's the way you would go with. So engaged from the time, so brilliant to lay their baby so that their baby is in this position and leaned up maybe against a hogan log, so that they're interacting, they're watching as everyone is about cooking or playing or herding sheep or collecting medicines, and so safe and mobile. Make straps, sturdy straps that would come from here, and it would go like this. Harper, we have stories in my family of being chased by enemies. And back in the old days, when you were chased by enemies, you would just have to grab your whatever you could and try to make it to safety as fast as possible. One of pulled the baby off the side of the horse and took the baby and threw the baby to the ground like this, with the point it stuck in the ground. And then from the baby, she would later on go back and find the baby there, safe and maybe upside down a little bit, but all in one piece and safe. So there are a lot of stories to the cradle board. The very first time that you use a cradle board, you wash it with yucca root, and the same root that you use to wash your hair with it, and get it all clean, repair the straps and everything. Bless it with chi, a red powder. I don't know what the English word for chi is. Okra, maybe? I don't know. Do you know? Yeah, and you would bless it with chi, that red powder. That keeps the nightmares away, bad dreams away from the baby and all of that. So being able to lace a baby within a cradle board is something that I'm very, very thankful for. All of my grandbabies, great-grandbabies, have their own cradle boards. We have Apache cradle boards. We have Ute cradle boards from my husband. My daughter married, her first husband was part Apache, so we've got all kinds of cradle boards. Son, Michelle's part Apache, so she uses a Apache cradle board as well as a Navajo cradle board. And the one thing that I love to share with family and community members is when you wrap your baby in a cradle board, I encourage you to use it at nighttime. And we encourage to always say, nowadays, our old ways, take back the old ways. Our food sovereignty. We need to use breast milk. It's the most nutritious way to feed your baby. You can eliminate a lot of the allergies that I see that's so prevalent today. And even swaddling, It's very safe. When the baby is wrapped up and everything and you're in bed with the baby, you're not going to roll over that big thing. You're not going to roll over that big thing. You'll be able to be right there. You'll hear the first cry. You'll be able to help your baby. So I really encourage sleeping with your babies in a cradle board, right with you. Encourage you to breastfeed and also to just listen to the baby and love them and teach them. You are a holy, sacred being. That's how we're going to treat you, by making something as special as this to raise you with. That's my presentation.
Anybody have questions for Eileen?
Oh,
Ooh,
got.
What we could do is at the very end too, we got a couple other people.
Yeah.
A bio from them so they can kind of share a little bit about themselves. And now what we're going to do is when we shared the flyer to the community, different people seeing the flyer, and they says, I'd like to come and share my story. And so we have a couple people who was willing to come and share part of their Cradleboard stories, and what, as I mentioned before, about a beautiful night it is to be able to come together tonight with this. With all the beautiful people to be able to come and share through stories and things like this. So first guest to come on up, please. I think that's Virgil. He's going to come on up. And anybody else who'd like to come up there? And Amos, right? You only got 2 minutes, okay? No. No. Yeah. One of those stories. So Amos, Virgil, come on up, sir. Big round of applause. Virgil.
Usumeka nakapa, aganekata imwe the raper we are uri mai going uri tamwa nakanda. Usumiras never sequer going to be then tamwa take regokan or nakapa ungaria the raper usopan nakan. I said, well, it's good to hear from others who have Cradleboard stories and how they raised their, and it is something that I think helps us serve one another in sharing our stories. And our stories, there's a lot of similarity among caves. About 2000, and some of the earliest dendrochronology is a study of tree rings. So the early Cradleboards, they drilled into the Cradleboards and picked out a small section, and they looked at that small section and found the tree rings that were found from Ant Basin. Bessie, her name was Moon, coming from the moon side. And at one time, Chief Moon was the main chief of the Goshutes way back a long time ago. So I'm related to the chief, and there's various members of our community in the Goshute tribe that we're all related. And so he just turned 51 this year. And the lines are the male designs. And what I understood is there's only one Cradleboard that's made for the family. The only thing that's different is the visor that's replaced. And so when I was a small child, I used to watch my grandmother prepare the material to making of the Cradleboard. So we did the same. She had her sons, took off the outer skin of the willow, and she split it. So she split it until it became a small, and put it in water. She soaked the frame in the tub, soaked it for a long time so it could be bendable and pliable. And when you work with willow, when you first take off the bark, it's real slick. And it's but it also kind of protects the strand itself. So once the willow became pliable, then she was able to bend it and frame it. And then she spent hours into small strands. And so she put it in the tub, and then she started to weave in top of it. Put my son in here. She wasn't into cradle boards. So we never carried him as did for families. Probably old. My son's 51 years old, but it took old because it took time to make it from the time she collected the willow. And so I used to watch her make cradle boards. And then another thing my grandmother did, because back then, you know, we didn't have a lot of money, so she made crepe paper flowers to put on flowers before Memorial Day. Then we went to the reservation, and then we got some wildflowers and put it on the graves. Now, there's been a lot of information already given, great information. I appreciate what I've heard, and it's been great. But I want to share one story with you that my grandmother told me a long time ago. And hopefully the Creator will forgive me for telling this out of season. But I think it's significant for us to hear. And she told me about the coyote story. She said one time Coyote was hanging around one of these ladies that make cradle boards. And he was envious of the cradle board, and he wanted it. He wanted the willow all to himself so he could make cradle board. So being the coyote, being sly and, you know, being a liar and, you know, being what our leader is like. That's all I'll say about that. But anyway, he was very conceiving. He could turn on the charm to the women, and, you know, not only that, but anybody to get what he wanted, because he was just that type of a person. Well, anyway, she told him, she said, no, you can't have it. Back at you. And so she was very cautious, watching, making sure that he didn't do something crazy, but he did. He sneaked up and he peed in the water, in the cradle, where the willow was being soaked. And so my grandmother said, if you put your hand in that water when the willow is being soaked and you take your hand out of the water, he said, it smells like pee. Sure enough, I tried it. It smelled like pee. And that's what the coyote did to get back at that lady who was an expert in making cradle boards. But that once the resin is soaked, it makes the willow pliable so you can work with it. And that's why it smells like that. But that's a good story anyway, you know, because, you know, we all have stories like that, but that's why it smells like that. That's what my grandmother told me. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. And not only my grandmother, but people of that era, of that time, that's what they did. They took what what was passed on to them historically, and they made things. And my grandmother was one of those. And my other grandmother, my paternal baskets, but that's for another time and another story. So, but for tonight, I wanted to share that with you. And so one of these times, maybe I'll give this to the museum. I don't know. So anyway, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You need this?
Beautiful story. Years ago, it was a tough story. Maybe about respect of the animal, people, the plant life, maybe documenting some historical event, hunting and things like that. So we have a way of doing that. So you want to come over and get a microphone, or you don't need you want a microphone? Yeah, we don't mind this, and then they're gonna be on there. So we just have one more. Unless somebody else would like to kind of share a story too. We got a little bit of food left over, and so And you guys enjoying yourself tonight?
Yes.
Yeah. And just think, if we are able to just be in a just big circle right here, to be able to kind of just share another story, and things like that, and how important it is about being able to share that. So we turn the time over to Amos.
Thank you, Neil. Oh, can you guys hear me? Or do I need to shout? I'm Amos Murphy with the Confederate Tribes. I was just kind of thinking about stories, Cradleboard stories, and I really enjoyed a lot of the presentations that was presented here on the various Cradleboards and stuff, stories. But I'm gonna do the buckskin one for you because what we go back in time before the Cradleboard. Maybe we were using buckskin or animal hides to cover the babies and carry them way back, so we kind of have to go back further and before the Cradleboard. All different designs, different areas have their way of doing things. And I liked your presentation, Eileen. That was everything that ties to the family, everything that ties to everything that we do. I think every tribe has their stories. They have their ways of doing things. Boys and the girls, their designs are different, and I think in every tribe is it's the same way. So and I like the part where you said, "What can I contribute? What can we contribute to storytelling?" Some I myself, been working with hides. Somebody's one of them. I don't like to sell things. And our way of life is like if we could trade, we could help support each other. We use that for our purposes, whatever it is. Make blades, buckskin on the bottom to help support so the babies don't slide down. So so I have some of the things that this times, seasons. We all talk about seasons, and some of these things like we go out and hunt the animals, and that's usually done around the fall time. I'm liking each individual has their part to do in life, men, women. But he was more discussing about the men's side, the younger men, the boys, as they grow up, like you were talking about. They, as we go along, we teach our young ones. And some of these, I thought, well, I said, well, let me the part of the Cradleboard. There's stories in all this and what we do. They tell us these things. And we use every part of the animal. That's whatever it is. To brain tan and strengthen these things. So and you were talking about as we grow up. There's many teachings in our way of life. Some of us that maybe belong to a neighborhood church or something like that. They teach us in there. One time I was sitting in a church setting, and one of the elder gentlemen he said, "Look at that." He goes, "That's a Cradleboard in that." The way that they call it their fireplace, their altar. It's designed like that, and it goes out, and it looks like a Cradleboard. So he said, when you stand up, look at that, because that is teachings in areas that wherever we go, whatever we do, there's always something that's showing us, teaching us that. How do we do things? How do we go back in life? And And those teachings we carry on. You know, there's a lot of that. So, you know, I felt I should come over and talk about some of these things. And this willow we were talking about, this is medicine too, to the Native people. This is medicine, because when we have our firstborn child as a man, well, they tell us, don't touch your hair with your hands. Go out, get a piece of willow, whatever it is. If you itch, scratch yourself. Take care of yourself with this willow, because it has medicine to help you out. So those things, you know, that's part of this whole cradle board. After 9 months, somebody's out there making a cradle board for your child. In their mind, they have what they're going to do, how they're going to make it for that particular child. So, certain time of year too, they go out and pick this willow. You just can't pick it just any time of year. You gotta, there's a certain time of the year, that willow, you go pick it, because it has something at that time. But those ladies over here that was presenting, they know what time of the year they go pick that. But this there is it's good medicine. I've known I was told about a story about a guy. He had, in his way, he used this willow as his medicine to take care of people. So I believe that. I believe that you, whatever it is, they tell you, take care of yourself using this willow, along with those, making it with the cradle board. Everything that is provided in this land, we utilize it, whatever it is. So, you know, we use our animals. We use part of the land to help construct. So those individuals that are creative in that way, that could take care of those things for us. So that was my purpose, to come over here and kind of show what kind of work I do. These are all my first projects. If I decide that does things like this, help them out. Don't charge them, just say, I'm going to help you. That's how we do it. That's what they told me. The elders told me, says, money isn't everything. So these things will help people out. This willow helps people out. It doesn't break, it bends. So that's a good thing. I guess that's why certain time of the year, if you pick the wrong one and it snaps, it was the wrong time. So anyway, I just want to share that with you, and hope it's some little information, because that's just the way where I come from. There are teachings there, and I think every tribe, everywhere, there's teachings out there, and they just tell you there's certain times of the year that some of these things are available. You know, like this time of year, we go, you know, you go out, pick our vegetations, and use those, get ready for the fall year. So a lot of those things they tell us that's this good time of year to go do those things. So anyway, I just wanted to say that much, and thank you. Is too good.
I kind of wonder, when you soak your willows, how long can you soak them? Because I've noticed some ladies, when they ask, we're going to make the shape, and they soak it all right, but they forget about it. Forget about the ones that they're soaking, you know, or until it gets really soft to bend. But how long is the real length of?
How long you?
You actually, you soak it, you only soak what you need. And then when you're stripping it, and then you tie it up to make it straight, you can actually use the willows will last a long time. It may be dry when you have some, you can actually put it in the water and absorb the water, it will come back to being, being able to use it. But if you only soak the willows when you're gonna use it. You don't do a whole mess of them because that's what happens to them. If you forget them, you just totally ruin your whole. Yeah, it's just depending how long what happened maybe 2 or 3 days during that time frame when you're working at. You don't have to do it prior, because if you do it prior, sometimes they get too flimsy. So you do it during the time that you're working on it.
Yeah, to me, I think it doesn't matter because willows, they're, if you notice, where they grow, they're along the water, so they're used to water, so they stay moist all the time. So but if you cut them and you let them sit for a while, then that's all they need is more of that water to help bring it back to where it was before. Then you could go ahead and start working it and bending it, and then when you get it to that point to where they have the loop, and then you let it dry out like that, but you have to tie it so it stays that shape that you want it. Any other questions? Yes, Virgil.
Yeah, as I understand, a stress test is, so if you soak it and for quite some time and you take it out and you bend it and it bends and it's pliable, then it's ready for use.
Mm-hmm.
But if you bend it and it breaks, it's not ready for use.
Right.
That's kind of a rule of thumb.
Yeah, you got too much biceps in one. I think for females, they have that perfect bend. For guys, we were struggling. All of a sudden, we snap it. Yeah, but you're right. You know, it's you got.
You give back to the earth where you take it to, so you have to offer them. Your wills are going to be good for you.
Yes.
Wind down this beautiful night. We just have a couple more things to do. We'd like to ask all the beautiful people who shared, those 4 presenters who was on the schedule, if you don't ask them one question, just maybe one each. Then after that, we're going to have like a little giveaway after that, cars and, something like that, So, yeah, if you don't mind, please, yeah. Yeah, someone said that they work for casinos, so they got a lot of money, show bands. Yeah. Yeah. So what we'll do is, whoever, there's that little microphone right here, so whoever's speaking, just don't mind, if you don't mind, just go ahead and, passing that to that next person. So we'll maybe just one question in a person, and then we'll just do this little giveaway thing, and, just our way of being able to say thank you very much. We had the food to nourish our bodies, as we mentioned earlier, that we had we lit that smudge to then be able to offer that prayer for giving thanks for this opportunity and safety and good health, all this different things like that. So, okay, all right. So maybe somebody from the audience. Once again, we have now 5 people up here, so just go ahead and maybe one question per person, and then we'll just whoever. Maybe we'll start on this side, okay? So somebody ask Rose a question, and then Rose, if you don't mind, there's a microphone, put it kind of up here so we all can hear you, and then you'll pass that microphone to Elvira, and then someone will ask the next person a question, something like that.
Hello, testing.
Any questions, anything like that? We've been so fortunate to have this beautiful wisdom keepers up here. She said her age earlier. I don't want to repeat it, but I just think of if we add all the different age group up here, Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, yeah.
So I'm curious, how long did it take for you to feel comfortable with your skills in basket making or doing cradle boards?
So can you repeat that?
Yeah.
I'm getting old, so I can't hear very good.
Yeah, so these guys can hear.
To teach the skills of cradle board making and shade making. I've done it for years, so I was comfortable teaching people who wanted to learn how to make those cradle boards and shades.
How long did it take you to feel comfortable on your own without having a mentor or your teacher by your side?
Back in when I was young, I really didn't know what I was doing then when I was a teenager. But as the years went by, when the elders would show me, oh, you do it like this, you do it like that. You know, they would show you once, and you had to learn. Yeah, and they would ask you, can you do that for me? So you would do it, and they would watch you do it, you know, because they wanted to know if you knew how to do it. So after doing it for so long, you feel comfortable.
Yep,
Learning.
thank you. Very good question. How about anybody for Elvira? Someone have a question for Elvira? Okay.
Okay, for me, I grew up in foster care, so I kind of never lost my, like if we were in cradleboard, our family is really traditional. So like now I'm a grandmother and I got my 18-year-old meth addiction. So I would kind of like to get awareness out to foster families and foster, because it's, when I got Feather, I found her on the street at 4 months old. I took her home